Hey y'all, Dee here again. Got another project I'm working on I thought I would share with y'all. I got this off of Marketplace. If you'll see, it's got a lot of water damage to it, and that's going to be a chore. And also, look at these legs on this. Isn't that pretty? So I love the detail on this, but it is going to require a lot of sanding and a lot of prep work before I can do anything with it. I'm thinking about doing a combination sand and painting. And the good thing is, these are a set. I've got 2 of them. So I've already started this one. I'm going to spare y'all the details of me watching me sand all of this, but you can see the pretty graining in that. Isn't that pretty? I was able to keep some of that and get some of that little laminate stuff off of it without compromising that wood that's under. So, and again, can't wait to work on these beautiful legs here. So y'all stay tuned. And we'll be right back and we'll see how this project goes. Thanks. Okay, y'all, I'm back. Lots of sanding I have done this week. I bet I have sanded every night this week at some point in time. But just to show you real quick, I used a little bit of a hand sander here to get in some of the little small spots. I used this because I wanted to get, again, back in the corners and crevices. And then I used my trusty old sander. Electric sander, and most of the time I did use a fine grade. I didn't want to get too harsh on this. So now that all that sanding's out of the way, I have dusted it down real good to get all that off of it, and I'm going to be using a classic gray men wax stain for the top and for the underneath. So let's go at it and see how this goes. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there are some water spots in this, so I'm going to hope that this covers well for those water spots. I don't know if y'all can see that good or not. You probably can't see what I'm doing. Let me move this camera around a little bit so you can see me here. Maybe you can see that. I don't think I want to wipe this down to start with. I actually want it to be a darker gray. Go ahead and get those corners there. And as you can see in the edging here, well, you can't see that. Well, let me see here. In the corners here, it's kind of a darker line, and I want to leave that just like it is. I'm undecided right now if I want to do a antiquing dark wax when I get through with this, or actually a whitewash. Again, sometimes I don't know what I want to do until I get in the middle of the project, but right now I'm leaning towards the whitewash. But before making that final decision, I really want to see how this gray is going to take on this top here and see how that's going to come out. May require 2 coats. I don't know if y'all can see what I'm doing here or not. I probably don't have that camera at the best angle. Ooh, got way too much on that corner there. Yeah, I just made a little bit of a mess, but it'll be all right. But that's why you always keep a rag on hand too. Get my mess up. Good thing Michael ain't here right now to tell me what a mess I'm making. Well, it looks like you can still see the graining in this under the gray, which is good. That's what I wanted. If I want it to go a little bit lighter, I could wipe it right now, and I may still do that. Let me get around the camera here. It'll be interesting to see how this comes out there. There, can y'all see that? Let me zoom in just a little bit. So, I'll go back and get under it good, which is probably what I should have done first. It's okay. Normally I would like to do the underside first and then go back and do the top side. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. All right, I tell you what, I am going to wipe this because I'm curious to see how that's going to look. Let me get another rag here. It's kind of cool. Okay, there's that water spot I was referring to right there. It's going to be a little bit darker. But it might be okay. Add some character. I mean, this is going to have a little bit of an antiquing look to it anyway, so it does not have to be absolutely perfect. The main thing is I'm salvaging something that nobody else wanted. I'm giving it some new life again. Okay, I think one coat probably is going to do it. I don't think I'm going to need another coat. Yeah, so you can still see a lot of the graining in that. Yeah, I think one coat will do it. So I'm going to jump on over here to this next piece and we'll be right back. All right, y'all, staining is over for the top of these. I did end up putting 2 coats on it because I wanted a little bit darker gray look than what I was achieving with the first coat. So I have stained the top and the bottom portions only. Let me jump over here to this next one. Don't mean to make y'all too dizzy here, but just so you can see. Now, the reason I stained, a couple of reasons. Actually, I wanted to make sure that I got this this grain to show through, which I would not have gotten if I had painted it. So that's why I went with the stain for these portions of it. And down on the sides here, it did not take the stain because I really think that that's like a Formica strip there or a laminate strip. So what I'm doing with that, I'll end up painting it to match the gray stain. I've got this Dixie Belle Slick Stick, so I'm gonna put a little coat around the edging of that. And also I'm gonna take this Dixie Belle Slick Stick. It's kind of like a, let me see if I can show y'all here. It's kind of like a little milky look to it. And I'm gonna coat these legs and all real good and kind of get in the grooves there with my brush. So now that the staining part is done, that's what I'm gonna do. And the other reason that I stained first is because you can paint over stain pretty easy, but you cannot stain over paint, if I said that right. For an example, look here where I did a little dripping here. Well, I can paint over that pretty easily, but not the opposite. So I'm just going to go back and give this a little hodgepodge here, and then what that's going to do is just going to help that paint stick to this slick surface without me trying to go in and sand all these little grooves and stuff, because that would definitely take forever. So I'm just going to coat this down with this milky stuff, and then we're going to tape it up the edges and paint, y'all. Okay, so I've got my Dixie Belle Slick Stick all covered on this. As you can see, it's nothing perfect. It's just kind of put on there real quick. I did not try to get all into the grooves. It's just a real quick coat. It does not have to be perfect. So got that on there, and now I'm going to go back and paint it. It's important to remember though, when you do put this on, you want it to sit for 2 or 3 hours. In my case, it has sat overnight. So now that that is good and dry, and I've got it covered like I want, see, it's not real perfect there. Now I'm going to tape up these edges here a little bit so that I don't make too many boo-boos, and start painting. And the color I'm going to be painting with is Dixie Belle's Sawmill Gravy. I couldn't think of it, Sawmill Gravy. So it's a white, but it's got a little grayish tint to it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I did go back and paint these edges in gray because the stain just would not cover it up, but I think it matched up pretty well. So, on to paint. Can y'all believe it is finally time to paint? As I mentioned before, I am using this Dixie Belle Sawmill Gravy color. It's kind of like an off-white, but a little hint of gray to it. I think it's going to go good with this top here. So, finally, and all I did as far as taping, I wanted to get around these edges here where the stain was at, because I knew I would definitely get paint on that. So here we go, y'all. I'm going to start off with this little brush. I feel like I can probably get by without taping the top. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit up here and let's see how this looks. Oh yeah. Now I'm not going to worry too much about covering in all these little cracks and crevices, because when we go back final with the wax, I'm going to want that to show through anyway. But for the most part, I'm getting it. We will bring that back out later. So, seems like there's been a lot of prep work I've had to do to this piece, or pieces. Now I've got the mate to this over there upside down, because I'm going to paint the bottom feet of it first. And I'll probably do the same thing. I'll go back and flip this one over and do the bottom on the legs. So let's see how this flower turns out here. Oh, isn't that cute? I think I'm gonna like it. Get in the little crevices just a little bit. Just a little bit working in there. The good thing about this chalk paint, it dries pretty quick. But even still, I probably won't go back and do the waxing until tomorrow. I mean, I gotta work sometime. I'm doing this at nighttime. So you see, I'm not trying to get in the little crevices too much, but for the most part I am. Lots of details on this. So it's going to be interesting to see what it finally looks like on the end. In the end. Now, this is the reason I taped it, because I knew I would make a mess down here. And I'm pretty certain by the time I get to the end, I'm going to have to go here and there and do a little touch up on staining and stuff where I've kind of gotten sloppy with splattering my paint. But it's all good. So that's what the color's going to look like. And again, this slick stick I put on here, that was just kind of to act as an adhesive for this paint, because there was a shiny finish to this originally, and rather than sand all into that, and the chalk paint may have stuck to it, but I didn't want to take any chances of it popping off a few weeks down the road. Now, I know a lot of people will just slap chalk paint on anything and they say you're good to go. Personally, I think it's more important to go and do some prep work, because you don't want to have to repaint anything a few months down the road because things are popping and chipping off. So, but that's what it's going to look like, y'all. I'm going to finish painting this piece up, and then we will come back after it dries, and I'll show you how we're going to finish it off. Can't wait. Okay, everyone, so the painting is finally finished with these two pieces. And I know I had mentioned earlier I was going to put a dark wax on this, but I've decided to do this Valspar Antiquing Glaze because it's softer, it's easier to work with, and I think I'll be able to get it here in these little crevices a whole lot easier. And if y'all watched any of my other videos, you've seen me use this very same jar before. I am not a spokesperson for Valspar nor Dixie Belle, and you don't have to use all the same product. You just have to use what you like. So let me get a cloth here right quick and let's get started. Just going to kind of concentrate mainly in these cracks here and in the decorative pieces. Now, I've mentioned before, I like to work out of the lid here so I don't get so much on my brush, but as you can see, I'm getting right much on my brush. Gonna
that's okay because I want to go back and wipe the majority of this off. It looks kind of scary, but it'll be all right. Just gonna kind of, I don't know if y'all can see what I'm doing very good or not. Moving. I get my fat head out of the way. It is a beautiful Sunday afternoon to be painting here. You hear the birds chirping. The breeze blowing, so it is not going to take this like very long to dry. Now, of course, my paint was dry very well before starting this. And whenever you're using this glaze, it's important to remember, if you let it sit for very long, I'm just going to hit these little spots here up a little bit. The longer it sits, the harder it is to take off. Go ahead and hit that flour a little bit. Now you could use it. You could use a dryer brush and kind of work this in. Obviously, I don't want it that dark, so I'm just taking just some plain old Walmart brand baby wipes here. And I'm just going to kind of use that to do my blending. You could probably use a sponge, or I'm just going to kind of blend it in where I want it. And see, I'm leaving that dark there and right there. And you just add or take away like you want. Of course, it's easier to add than it is to take away. So you might, if you're using this for the first time, you might want to go kind of more light-handed than what I'm doing. Just kind of giving it a rough, rustic look, but oh Lord, y'all ain't gonna be able to hear me now with that pack of dogs over there barking at my neighbor's house. Sorry about all the noise, y'all. Blame it on the neighbors. So I'm gonna get right here in these little crevices a little bit. And I'm just gonna work my way all the way around this piece and the other one. And I'll probably turn it upside down to do this. These bottom legs here will be easier. And just kind of focusing on the lines there where I want it to be accented. So dirty cloth, just kind of, and as you can see, I'm also doing small sections at a time. You don't want to Valspar the whole thing or antique the whole thing and go back, because if you do, it's going to be a booger bear to try to take off. Unless you want it to be real dark. You may want it to be a little darker. But in this case, I don't. I'm going more for a grayish look to match the stain that we used. And I'm just going to work my way around this piece, doing these little steps right here. Just wiping off. And now there's a tractor going. Y'all hear all this noise? By the time I get ready to video, everybody's going to have all the noise, but it's a free country. So you get a gist of here of what I'm doing, and as soon as I work my way all the way around this piece, I'll come back and show y'all the finish. Okay, y'all, Michael's helping me out here with a little Rust-Oleum clear coat in matte, and this is going to help protect that finish a little bit, especially since these are end tables and they may take a lot of beating if they're in a living room with cups and glasses and such. But hopefully this will offer it a little bit more protection, as well as just a little hint of a shine to them. Okay, everyone, the project is now completed, finally. Just gonna zoom in here, let y'all see some of the details. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. I think overall these look a whole lot better than they did. See you next time.